That if you wear one of these shirts, you'll be on the cover of GQ. You'll be beating women off with wiffle ball bats. To all you gals out there, you'll be walking runways in Paris and Milan.
Hey everybody, welcome back to yet another episode of EventSpeak with me, Big John, CEO of Beyond Experiential. Today's guest is Dylan Flynn, who is a self-described the world's most justifiably arrogant man, as he told me off camera.
No, that's not self-described. That was 10 years of study by Harvard and Cambridge.
So, justifiably, we will say, Dylan. Dylan's with us today, actually, to talk about Pass the Bass. So, Dylan, with that being said, let's just jump right into it. Tell everybody who you are and what Pass the Bass is and your story, that how that came to life.
Okay, so as we said, my name's Dylan Flynn. I got my first bass guitar for my 15th birthday. Approximately 5 months after that, on the last day of my freshman year of high school, I suffered a traumatic brain injury in an automobile accident. I don't have any recollection of this injury. My family told me that I hit a tree at somewhere around 70 miles an hour. I wasn't wearing a seatbelt. I believe I was told I spent 12 days in a coma. My mother told me that she was told that I wouldn't live and then that I'd spend my life in a nursing home. Approximately 10 weeks after the injury, I walked out of rehab, went home. I've been living an independent life for 21 years.
Wow.
Not really able to play my bass. I had gotten 2 bassists to play mine just to get use out of it, as well as get backstage and hang out with musicians. But I'm only in touch with one friend back from my high school years, and he suggested if I'm getting bassists to play it, why not get bassists to play it while raising money? So
Yeah.
it just reached 6 years. You know, I mean, the whole intention is just to get as many bassists to play it as possible. Sucks it's not me. I absolutely love watching it played, and I've been pretty damn lucky to watch some amazing musicians with it.
For example, who's played your bass so far? Some of the people that come to mind.
The most mainstream, most well known is Mark Hoppus with Blink 182. He is who got me into bass. He just played it during sound check, which is always cool, but I prefer playing it during the set.
Very, very cool.
The bassists with bands that I more appreciate are Chris 2 with Anti-Flag, Fat Mike with NOFX, Joe Principe with Rise Against, Matt Freeman with Rancid. Those are definitely some of the bigger names.
Yeah. Those are some legends right there, man. That's amazing. That's amazing. For everybody watching at home, a good friend of our show, Kevin Lyman, founder of the Warped Tour, now USC professor, had Dylan on his My Warped Life podcast, which is kind of a parallel for anybody that's out there watching those. I spent a decade of my life on the Warped Tour. I never claimed to be a bass player. I was just able to play the bass, is what I would tell people. So when I heard Dylan's story and heard about him, not only from what he told me about Past Bass and having a conversation with Kevin, I just thought it was a great opportunity to get you on the show, man, and give a little light to what you're trying to do. So let me ask you this: so you have somebody that's playing the bass for you, like let's say, so you mentioned Fat Mike from NOFX, an old friend of mine for that matter. When they play it, how do you raise money based off of that? So do you record them playing it and then people donate? Like, how does that work?
Primary source of this money raised is the bands generously let me sell my merchandise at shows. While playing my bass, sometimes nobody plays the bass, but they still
Oh,
generously let me sell my merchandise. Almost all of the money raised has been from merchandise sold or donations given at my merchandise table at shows.
nice.
I've had a handful of other musicians just give me money. I also, I mean, like I said, I would say at least 95% of this money comes from being raised at my merchandise table at shows. I do have links online for selling my merchandise as well as donations. Even after 6 years, I feel like this, and forgive me if I'm offending anyone, but I feel when all is said and done, this is for the most part a one man campaign. And I am trying to turn it into something
Hmm.
bigger. And legitimate isn't the word I want to use because it's legitimate whether it's 100 people or one. Um, but something more substantial, I guess.
Maybe more far-reaching to help more people, kind of thing.
It put a big smile on my face when some guy in Europe sent me a message on Facebook saying he plays bass. He found out about the campaign and bought a
Agreed.
shirt. That was definitely cool. Millencolin, they're a great band. From Sweden, I believe.
Millencolin, yeah, love Millencolin, man. Another one of my favorites from back in the day.
They let me sell at a show in Denver. A little give and take. I gave him a shirt for generously letting me sell at his show. So hopefully he can promote it some out there, and the band can mention it out there. Um, Flogging Molly let me sell on their salty dog cruise a couple years ago. I went the first year. I didn't go for the next four, but the man who's helped me the most with this campaign is Casey Kress. He is Flogging Molly's tour manager. Kevin has helped me. Kevin has helped me an awful lot, but if it wasn't for Casey, I wouldn't have got to hang out with Fat Mike in a dressing room before Fat Records anniversary show. I guess uh, I guess Mike has back problems. A P bass is too heavy for him. He plays some lighter bass.
Oh, okay.
So well, I still kind of think he could play mine sitting down during the set. So on one hand, I was a little disappointed he didn't play mine during the set. But at the same time, we were hanging out in the dressing room before the show, and he took my bass, went out in the hall, came back, and played and sang a song.
Nice.
And this probably isn't verbatim, but something to the effect of, Dylan, why'd you go and crash that car into that tree? So, you know, I kind of would have preferred it during the set, but who could? I don't think many people can say Fat Mike wrote a song about them.
No, you can't. No, you can't. That's true.
So, I mean, it's give and take. I mean, no, why not play a song he wrote about me during the set?
Still, that's pretty awesome, man. I mean, Fat Mike is a legend. There's no question about it, and the fact that he even took the time is amazing, and that's really kind of what's I think special about what you're doing is it's something that you know it's such a grassroots effort. Like, like you said, it's this one man thing. You had this horrible tragedy, and now your love of music, your love of playing the bass, you've been able to turn it into something where you've been able to connect with so many of these bands and artists that you've admired and look, and have followed along for parts of your life. That's awesome. So let me ask you this, man. Like, where would you like to see Pass the Bass go from here? Like, what's your next steps in the big picture? So, what do you think is the end goal, if you will?
Well, obviously the goal is to just raise as much money as possible. Raise Bill Gates' worth for brain injury support. That might be far fetched.
Hey, shoot for the stars, man.
What I like to think are realistic goals, and a gentleman who I actually met for the first time on that first Salty Dog cruise 6 years ago. Um, he lives here in Columbus. I'd never met him before, but he actually lives only about a mile away from me. Um, he had a guy he knows that does artwork. Just draw up a promotion, hypothetical promotion poster for a Pass the Bass benefit. I I think Blink 182, Green Day, Anti Flag, Flogging Molly, Dropkick Murphys, and some bands I've never heard of are on there.
Wow, that's huge,
And
man.
you know, I mean, in all likelihood, I think that's probably far fetched. But I mean, maybe if a lot more people become aware of this, but maybe some kind of a mix of those bands with other bands. I mean, I would absolutely love to have, uh, I mean, not having the Warp Tour anymore, I would love to get some Kevin on board for setting up maybe
Oh,
uh 5 shows one summer for Pass the Bass for brain injury support. And, you know, he's one of my biggest problems for my brain injury is bad judgment. And fortunately, it's greatly improved over the 21 years. Um, Probably the worst judgment I ever displayed was when I was 17. My mother was a teacher. Students had the day off. I took her car and went down to LA. I was I was planning on going to Phoenix where I have an aunt, and I thought it was safe to assume she'd call the cops. So I told her I was going to Colorado. So if cops were looking for me, they were looking in the wrong place.
oh my God. Yes. Okay. So bad judgment clearly was part of the repercussions of this at one time. That's improved now. The decisions are getting better.
It has significantly, but I figure like I either don't go far enough or I go too far. And I just don't want to press Kevin too much. The man's done a lot for me. I don't want to get on his nerves. And
But he's definitely, not to interrupt you. He's definitely a fan of yours. And spoke highly of you. And I know he's trying to help you out with anything that he can.
Kevin told me I'm in for punk rock bowling in Vegas.
Punk rock bowling's awesome. It's really turned into quite a big event in Las Vegas. It happens downtown by the Golden Nugget. At least that's where it's been for a good chunk of years. You get bands like that NOFX are going to be out there. It's a major event.
That's 4 months away though, so I'm hoping something comes up before then. And well, that would be great. Anti Flag's gonna be there. I would love to somehow work out Riot Fest in Chicago. I think that's just a week, maybe 2 weeks before punk rock bowling. But that's got more bands that I like. I think that's a bigger festival. I've never been to punk rock bowling, but I've heard that that's pretty scattered throughout town. And I think I think Riot Fest would be better. It's more of an enclosed environment, so I would have easier interaction with people.
You know, and I think that's the key, man. Is like you gotta look from the perspective of the answer is always no if you don't ask. So you've got a good cause. You're a good dude. I think it's something that so many people could appreciate. You know, something we take for granted. The ability to sit down and play a bass if that's what you do, or strum a guitar, or whatever the case is, until something tragic happens like your accident, where you were so fortunate that you've been able to live a quality of life, as you said, have an independent life, to be able to have the gumption, if you will, to create this Pass the Bass program. Dude, it's just awesome, and I'm really stoked that you've come by the show to talk with us today. Before we wrap up, let me ask you this. Where can people find more information about Pass the Bass?
For the time being, I've noticed that if you just type in Pass the Bass on like Bing, you can find articles by alternative press, other magazines, websites, but the best places are Facebook. There is a Pass the Bass group. No, I'm sorry, that's a group. Everyone can interact, but then there's a official Pass the Bass page on Facebook, and that's one that I just run, make postings, keep people updated with what's going on.
Oh, that's awesome. What a cool thing.
Let me say to everybody who watches this, you have 5 minutes. Please take your time. Look up Pass the Bass. I feel ethically, if not legally, obligated to tell all you men that if you wear one of these shirts, you'll be on the cover of GQ. You'll be beating women off with wiffle ball bats. To all you gals out there, you'll be walking runways in Paris and Milan. I've heard that Hilfiger, Klein, and Lauren are filing for bankruptcy solely because of these shirts. You'll
Just because of your
kill
shirts,
two birds with one stone. Help those struggling with brain injuries while picking up the epitome of fashion.
huh? Wow, that's really great. That's far better than a wrap up that I could have ever done. Dylan Flynn, everybody. Dylan, thanks for coming by the show. Pass the Bass. I'm Big John. This is EventSpeak. You can find us and continue that conversation at eventspeak.com. And as always, reminding everybody out there to take care of yourselves and each other. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.